it on appdeploy.com, or which the vendor gives additional command line options, you would edit those here. You can specify the directory to start in. By default, it's going to start in the cache directory where Bits has downloaded the files. You can specify for those programs that do interact with the user, not in this case because it's unattended, normal minimize is going to do this, or normal and hidden are going to do the same thing, but you can specify the user interactivity. After the package is completed, you can reboot or not, and you can specify who does the reboot. Some of the setup.exes will reboot the machine and you can't suppress it, and so you can indicate that with the, hey, the program's going to reboot it, don't worry about it. If config manager needs to reboot it, you can specify that as also. Category is a way, if you're displaying software to people and they add remove programs and you want to say, well, this is a communication utility or this is a productivity aid or whatever, you can add categories. But the requirements are computed from the MSI file. It's pretty basic, just basically what's the recommended system install. It will not attempt to download and install on machines that have less than 128 megabytes of space in this case. Now, you might very well think that this being the 64-bit package that I would want to go down and specify I want to pick just the 64-bit operating systems. In fact, I believe it's better practice to not try to control the platform here, but instead to do it on the collection, which can use a WMI filter. And the reason for that is SCCM has to be updated for each new release of the operating system. So if there is a 2008 R4 and that has a 64 and 32-bit flavor, and I didn't specify it in the right checkboxes here because I couldn't, because it's not in these checkboxes, I wouldn't target the right platforms. So I think you're better off, you have more flexibility in collections and specifying hardware issues than you do in this drop-down, so use that, and that's what I'm going to be demonstrating. The additional requirements is displayed to the end user if they try to install a program that is advertised but not mandated. So you can say this requires special permission from the dean, or you need a dongle to run this, or whatever you want to display. The environment is quite straightforward. Can it run when a user's in? Never when a user's in. Either way. Most things you're going to have to install with administrative rights. The end user does not have to have administrative rights. The SCCM process is going to run it. If you want it to run and let the user see the dialogues and work with it, there's a checkbox for that. Again, I've chosen the straight up unattended MSI, so there is no user interaction. The drive mode really doesn't apply to us because we are using bits exclusively, so there's not going to be a drive mapping piece. There is some limited hierarchy and order of operations. If you've got a file that requires Adobe Acrobat, you can say, well, make sure that you run the Adobe Acrobat first. Actually, it allows you to specify the package and program. I think the real use case for this is to say, if I was doing the per user unattended, I might say, well, you are required to run the per system unattended first. But that allows you to specify those kinds of things. You can specify a bunch of notification-y kind of pieces. In many cases, you're going to want to say, allow this package to be installed without actually using an advertisement, because when we get the imaging online, you want to preload all your applications on the system. This will allow you to do it. Mom maintenance mode is the Microsoft Operations Manager. We are not licensed for this, so if you set anything on here, good for you, but it means nothing. A surprise to me was that the wizard does not actually read the MSI GUID so that it knows which MSI package it should use for upgrades and stuff. It's pretty straightforward to select this, and I think it's very valuable because now SCCM knows, oh, okay, if I've specified some sequence that you didn't advertise in the right order or whatever, if MSI exec knows how to do the right thing, this is the information that it needs to get it right. So the last thing that I need to do now that I've got my one program set up, and if I wanted to have multiple ones, is I need to go and say, all right, I'm happy with this. I've got everything set. I'm ready to distribute it. Let me select some new distribution points. Again, you can update the existing ones. If you've got a new version of something, you can manage. I'm going to just pick new. And it will give me the lovely new distribution wizard. This lists all of the servers known to the SCCM site server that could possibly receive this package. That includes the site server, which is the first one listed. You never, ever, ever want to distribute a package to the site server. The site server does not have the kiloquad of memory that's been installed on the distribution points. The distribution points are on the fastest network in the hardest data center. They are the ones that if one fails, the other will pick up. They've actually physically got the space attached to them so that they can operate independently. You generally will always want to use the distribution points. You might as well copy it to all three of them. If you wanted to, you could stage it. But by using all three, you get the maximum flexibility and fault tolerance. And that is all it takes to deliver a package. You can go to your package status. NCS, by the way, does not stand for Network and Customer Services, Customer Solutions. It stands for NC State. And so in the time that I'm making this video, my install's pending. If I do a refresh enough time, eventually, yeah, there we go. It's now been copied to all of the site servers and is completely ready for distribution to whoever needs it. Now it's time to create a collection of computers which will receive the package that we created according to an advertisement that we have yet to make. So how are we going to identify our collection? The collections in the console are under Computer Management Collections, not software distribution or imaging or anything, because collections are used by all of these services. And basically anything that's in the SCCM database, anything that you can read with WMI, anything you can freaking think of, you can use to create a collection. So in this case, the predetermined ones are, give me all the Windows XP machines on campus, yada, yada, yada. For the ability to work together and delegate administration, it is critically important that we follow the naming convention. So again, every single collection that you make needs to start with your organizational unit designation. Because I'm in Office of Information Technology, everything that I do will be made OIT-. Now, because of the way the rights are assigned, this is a little bit tricky. There are technical reasons for all of this, and perhaps we'll have that documented on a website. I won't begin to try to describe it while doing a demo. What I'm going to do is use the model that we're currently using for group policies, where you create a group in the domain, you put your workstations into that, and that is what targets that is what identifies the collection. I'm not going to do anything different, like put the machines in a particular OU and have them get the software, or computers that Billy Bodwin has never logged into the console. We're not going to use those kinds of things, though they're all possible. Everything that's rebooted before 6 a.m. on Tuesdays should get this software. We're not going to do that. We're just going to create a group, and if you're in the group, you get it, and if you're not in the group, you don't get it. So first I need to create the group. Here is the hopefully familiar users and computers in the NCSU container. Again, this will be wherever you make stuff, but for me it's in OIT, software packages. I will create a new group, and I will name that group, and I did store that in my paste buffer. It's a if it were a access limiting security group, I'd use domain local, but this is more or less a identifying group. What are the machines that get this particular piece of software? So I'll use global. It complains that NS client and that's not valid. So I will take out the NS client and we will just call this NS client 039 mumble. Again, it is absolutely vital that you always follow these naming conventions, and that hopefully will become clear as things go through. So now I've got a collection of computers. I'm purposely not going to populate it yet because I don't want to have this be deployed to anything, even my test machines, while I'm distracted by trying to get my dialogue correct, and I'm not necessarily paying complete attention to the task in front of me, but I'm paying attention to documenting it. Now, in order to get the permissions right, you always create new collections at the collections root. This is necessary to make sure with the nested folders the permissions just don't work properly. So I would like to create a new collection, and it gives me the new collection name. Now, who guessed that I would stress the importance of following the naming convention when you name a convention? I will use my paste buffer and choose a name that starts with OIT EX vendor product version. The part that's really critical is the OU settings, because that will be important for the security. Because of our local conventions, I'm going to identify myself and the date so that we know who worked on this app and what's going on. That may not be the best convention, but it's the one I got right now. Now, you can populate collections the same way you populate groups by saying I want this one and that one and the other one. This computer picture here would let you just pick the systems directly to say, well, I want PC 11 and 13 to get it. I'm going to use the database query, which is much more flexible to select, so that I can say pull out anybody who their inventory information says that they're in this group.